OKFM 101.7.
Mira mensa from se mesamo akwaba.
I'm major way.
Okay. What the crata aba bonten?
OKFM.
O man ye ka nom ne ade na wabu nkonta pa bi e de akire na ade wo kire ni say 5 setup banking clean up no. Tax said the construct economy at least 15% no. And here unemployment from 30 to 20 to 30%. A bit me am Ghana for much a woman. Sound come me it is saying.
I think that said them run a picture no. We should have 5% are buying of a sort charge on the bank and the problem is very every economy no. In fact, the entire economy dwells on the mobilizations of the financial sector. It's the financial sector, the engine or the lifeblood of the economy, because it is the financial sector that runs the economy. Now, we share the West African sub-region, in fact, not the on the continent. Ghana, your banking sector is the most taxed banking sector in the entire Africa.
Wow.
Oshe banks are a twice banks in Soa across the continent. Financial sector mutual taxes pa Ghana. Yana taxes a door so far. Now you see, when it happens like that, it makes your bank uncompetitive. Because the competition is global. A number of the multinational banks are competing globally. And for example, the international banks can mobilize assets from other jurisdictions to support their operations here in Ghana. What about the indigenous banks? And see, apart from there, this will have a tolling effect on banking services. Your indigenous banks are likely to suffer if you burden the sector with a number of taxes. But yet, have 5% we now are buying the financial sector or the bank. The banks cannot absorb it. In fact, they are not going to absorb it. Because already they are burdened with a lot of taxes. And so what they are going to do is that they are going to pass it on to the consumers of banking services. And see, over transaction of banks, or banking charges, or run current accounts of banks, or banking charges are going to increase by 5%. Every transaction that you undertake at the bank is going to increase by 5%. The cost of capital or the cost of your loan acquisition is going to increase by 5%. In fact, every transaction you do at the bank is going to increase by 5%. Now, what is this is going to happen is that people are going to be more inclined to put their savings under their bed instead of putting the money in the bank. Because the medical bank, not a Muslim corner banks not telling you now. Already, we have a huge shortfall and not a huge non-bank population. The total adult population in Ghana is 15 million. Only 4.5 million bank accounts, or only 4.5 million of them operate a bank account. That is just 30% of your adult population using banking services. Do you know what that means? It means you have 70% of your population who do not have access to banking services or who are not using the banking service. That means that how are they saving their money? Under their bed, in social box, or in other more risky investments like we've seen, in the past. Kwame, when you have this huge or very disturbing statistics, They are very careful because already you have 70% of your adult population who do not have bank accounts. You promised Ghana Force by the end of 2018 or 2019, every Ghanaian was going to have a bank account. As we speak, only 30% of the people have bank accounts. 70% of them do not operate one. What you would want to do is to put in policies that will attract people to engage the service of banks, to use banks. So you want to put in incentives that will attract people to save in the bank, because it is the savings that the banks will mobilize and give it to the businesses as loans. And see, what you do is put in incentives. But when you burden the sector, already banking sector cleanup made the usage of banking services decline by about 4 to 5%. So that 30% in the crowd is what? I mean, we are talking about 25-26% of your adult population using banking services. You are struggling to show this figures up. Banks may go in, and so it reduces confidence in the financial sector. A lot of people still don't have confidence in the financial sector to go and put their money there. It's with all this, also subdue the sector with taxes. What you do is that you disincentivize people from using banking services. So if this 20%, 26% or 25% who are currently using banking services further decline by 5 or 10%, you are talking about deposits of the banks reducing by about 15 to 20%. That is huge. So Sikaben and a bank in the Bama SMEs and small businesses. Sikaben and a bank in Bama investors to invest, to create jobs. So at the end of the year, your economy is contracting about 10 to 15% just because of this 5% you put on banking services. So to Kwame, not a lot of thinking went into this particular tax, because common economics, we're trying to first see economics then. They say this circular flow model. The circular flow model talks about the big households, businesses, and then the investments. The businesses employ households and they pay them salaries. The households spend what they need from the salary and keep the surplus as savings in the banks. That's why we call them financial intermediaries. So the banks collect these surpluses of the household and give it back to the businesses as investment. Then the businesses will use that money to expand their business and create jobs. And employ more people. So it's a model. It's a circular model. And once you burden one part of the model with unnecessary taxes, you truncate the entire process and you rock the whole boat. So Kwame, not so much thinking have gone into this 5% banking sector signal tax. This is the worst time you want to saddle the banking sector with tax. It's actually the worst of all moments, Kwame.
Now, we mami musawa diebi. Just ended Supreme Court petition ruling. What can be said? Prior to the ruling by the apex court of the land, say, sir, and one more court the petitioners, father and Siam could be can judges no crowd the bench and can be dismissed one crowd case. Ruling about a year one. Why?
I mean, in the course of the case, at the case management level, petitioner not filed 3 processes. All the 3 processes were dismissed unanimously. After the case management level, they entered to the full trial. Petitioner not filed 5 processes, including 2 review applications. All of them were dismissed unanimously by the court. Not a single dissent by the 7 and sometimes 9 justices who sat on the case. Kwame, the signs were there, were clear right from the beginning that they were going to dismiss the case.
Oh, okay. Now, Papa, Obia send the question, Mr. Musa. Question, Say, Sa banking sector clean up. Obina oye ne bank. Because do baby kwa na wo facing liquidity problems no. The Bank of Ghana no MSK Capital Bank is here over 600 and something million Ghana cedis. One mu be do one about chairman anyone one mo keka ho nyina e chebi and the bomb ho bosia. Ebi mo kwa yi says can be side could be another bank. Ya na me pese me bobodi emu asofo a omo ye board chairman fo a se enkrata ba ye no na bi ti se ICGC papa sofo Otabel and Associates ono an company wa bobo siama no ho wo the ICGC na ko bobi wo the another company na ko bobi next wa bombu sia wo vadbed o enkrofo yi nam ho ye huru di asem ni kosie yete ya abehye budget mu se sika aban boy ye edi tuatua customer so sika da ye Ghana for the ye nchempia asem we pa sabi nye ohiani na asem se no a ye di en say ana justify say aban ye sa
comment Deepen, these are questions that I was expecting during the vetting of the Deputy Attorney General. This was one of the questions I was expecting the members of the vetting committee to ask. Deepen, what is the status of that cases? Because we knew they were doing some investigation. That's what they told us. Somewhere you should know. Now, Ubia and Ranabek Chen said, "Well, misapply any of the police support." Now, that was criminal. Mind you, liquidity support is not a grant. It's a loan from the central bank with a very high interest rate of about 15 to 20%.
Wow.
Yes, and the banks are supposed to use this loan specifically to shore up their liquidity and their operations.
OKFM.
Now, come in. That case with because of this multi-dimensional angle, no, it is sometimes I am not kind of be you know, not with the bed in it to banks name owners of the banks, so you may be missing the whole point. Because they did time Kwame. Mamindi can first of all no Bank of Ghana. Kwame, the business there were problems. Nase me bebo bosia me mau sika and I said me tam Ghana for sika aban sika the amount say je fashion business ni na business no enwa me respond me tam sika no the amount and then me na also me share sika na me the amount no you apply it and use it for what it's meant for. So Kwame, who invests such millions of Ghana cedis into somebody's business and not ask for a representation on the board?
OKFM.
Because Bank of Ghana have the power. We have the Banking Sector Supervision Department of the Bank of Ghana. In granting this liquidity support to the banks, what they should have done was to ask for a representation of the Bank of Ghana on the board of these banks at more liquidity support. No, a representative of the Bank of Ghana ethics the board of these banks are. I am not sure that they could have misapplied the liquidity support because the board is where all the decisions are taken. And all these things, could have been stopped. Until the Bank of Ghana failed woefully in their regulatory responsibilities. Until Yendi Canvas of Bonumbo, they are also almost more apply liquidity support. EDB could be a bank so for they acquire investment to other countries. EDB Chegu. Your friend is saying if you rush for me move a to said yeah or minus Yakam or Mansi Kadamo move free. A bank says or move and that you are going to prosecute these people. What is the status of that investigation? As we speak, what is the status of those investigations? Who and who was indicted? When is prosecution going to start? You see, we live in a country where we hold nobody responsible for anything. I might take a decision as I am here. Now I bet nothing. NPP, NDC, then we forget. Nobody is held responsible for anything in this country. Because this particular issue, somebody at the Bank of Ghana should be answering questions. Then the management of these banks should also be answering questions. But Kwame, what do we see? We don't know. Deputy Attorney General Bettina Version. What is the status of this investigation? As we speak, Abina, no, go banks and their pathetic depositors. No, the depositors are still on the streets complaining about their money. Abina should have 21 billion on the other solve problem. No, people are still demonstrating on the streets. People are still dying. Some of them have still not received their money. Abina, yes, I bet you have 5% as taxes. And Ghanaians, we are not asking any questions. You must say, you know, it's a sister of mine here, they are Chomona, we are not asking questions because they are critical questions that must be answered. You know, for the government to come out and say, you should pay 5% taxes for something I did, something that is no fault of yours. Kwame, you go bank now, Jina
Debbie,
now catch a bank, don't go bank. Or more liquidity support or more come supply, no.
Debbie.
So why should you be the one to pay for the mess of others?
Me say, and no na mentiasian.
Why are we not asking questions as Ghanaians?
Who could be saying on social media so
somebody's mess? The minister or whatever they call it now, government representative or the financial ministry or the leader of government business, the person who came to read the budget, he should come and tell us why he thinks we Ghanaians, we should pay for somebody's mess. We should pay for it. He should come and tell us. You see, but we are not asking. And people are not angry. I'm not saying, and because you can't say that people don't see the effect of that 5%. What be a small business be now? What patch one bank be the amount bushing? Sakramaudia with Momo. I'm with money from Ono. Already bank in charge of interest of about 26-30%, which is huge.
Papa,
that you know, 20 to 30% in banks in charge. Another 5%, that's some more here because Ubi Akodi liquidity support or bank Aquakodi. If you are not ever to Obusan or body, they say with Momono, Ubitia, so Ubitia, they move 5% at their man at their cost of the problem and Nipana creating. You see, at the end of the day, so Okodibusiano at that cost 30 to 35%. What you move 5% as banking sector clean up tax, you know. Who a businessman who produces what you know, who pay profit, maybe. So you put it on the cost.
Okay.
At the end of the day, the cost will come back to his breed. Yeah. Yeah, because at the end of the day, the producer will be or the 5% no ever can the cost of operations, so that will increase the cost of commodities on the market.
Mira, Medasiano pay.
Measure
I say, Ora Mensa Thompson, Executive Secretary ASEPA, and the other train common, and I may can't let
OKFM 101.7.